It's your girl A.Moriah, and welcome to the A-List. So happy new year. I haven't seen you guys since 2018. So on today's episode, we are going to talk about The Freedom Factor. The Freedom Factor is an amazing book that's already available online, and the physical copy is dropping in March. So we're going to talk about emotional freedom. So you definitely don't want to miss this episode, so stay tuned. So on today's episode of the A-List, we have the author of Freedom Factor, Evita Freeman. So thank you so much for joining us here at the A-List.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and this is our first episode of the new year, so we're starting the new year off right. So I do have a few parts of the book that I do want to discuss, but if you can give us a brief summary of the Freedom Factor and your purpose for writing it.
Okay, so I'll start from a little bit far back. So out of college was the last time we saw each other. We went to college together. Out of college, I ended up going into change management. And what I did for corporate America was pretty much train managers and executives on how to help their people navigate through change quickly and efficiently through the way that you handle resistance, through the way that you communicate with people, all shape their mentality and how they develop, how they grow, and how they endure difficult situations. That science, which is a worldwide discipline, I had the opportunity to not only be certified for, but I went on the following year to get a second level certification, which made me top 3% in the country. So I was rocking it. I was proud, I was excited, I was moving. And then I started thinking back to my childhood and a couple of things that I had gone through, a couple of things that my friends had gone through, the expectations they had of 2018. So many things happening in our world right now, from the politics that divide us. There's so much stressors. There's so many stressors on us, especially as millennials, our culture. There's a lot that the baby boomers got that we don't get, housing market. So there's just so much on us. And I started thinking there's a professional application to all of these things, but if I can take this science plus what I know in my background of the Bible and ministry and create a scientific approach to how to understand yourself, not necessarily teach you anything about yourself, but reveal to you who you are in a powerful way, then from there you can begin to revolutionize and change your thinking and how you see the world. And so that was the purpose of the Freedom Factor, getting you to understand your emotions from a scientific basis, pulling those things that were only reserved for high performance areas where they learn under so much stress how they have to know how to handle their feelings, their emotions. That's not by design. There's no special characteristic that any one person has that another one doesn't. There's no difference between a CEO and an everyday person. All the difference is in their character and the strength of their minds, how they handle high crisis, high stress situations. I teach you how to deal with that, and you become less afraid of your feelings. A lot of people, they go through pain, they just don't even want to, and we're going to talk about that emotional impoverishment, but they desensitized, or where they don't want to feel anymore. And to protect themselves from feeling the bad, that desensitizing, when they desensitize themselves from that, they also then remove their opportunity to have joy and hope. They don't just cut off one side, they cut off everything. And so now you find yourself not being able to go to that depth of emotion anymore. And you're not enjoying life. You're just kind of apathetically coasting through. We struggle with things like anxiety, depression, thoughts of wanting an out, wanting death. I don't call it suicidality or being suicidal necessarily. But that feeling of just life is too much for me. Everybody's been to that place. We go to that place more frequently when we're not self-aligned. And so all of what I just said is simply condensed. 7 quick chapters. Think these ways, understand these things about yourself, and then identify it in yourself and heal thyself according to your faith. You know what I'm saying? Like, fix it for you. And so that's what I want to do with the book.
Nice. So you've already touched on it, emotional impoverishment. So explain that.
So it's so you think about poverty, right, in our society. And what happens with, I'm a rags to riches story. I was raised in the hood. I came from there to traveling the world, having a line of credit with my company, like seeing places I've never seen before. And I understand the rags to riches story is so psychological before it's literal. Yeah. You have to know who you are, even when the circumstance doesn't align with that. And that's a tough thing.
Vita, you are preaching.
That's a tough thing to believe. You got to believe your way through not seeing any evidence. And so when you're in poverty, that's the fastest way to experience that. And what happens in actual poverty is a psychology sets in where all of a sudden you don't want to hope for better. You just want relief. You don't want more for yourself. You just want to get out of where you are. You're at a disadvantage so long that your goal becomes zero. You don't even want any additional things. We do that emotionally as well. We stop hoping for the best of who we are. We stop acknowledging the places we can go because we're fearful of the process to get there because of constant disappointment, constant circumstance, constant neglect, all the same things that make people shift their dreams and lower their standards to handle their emotions better in actual poverty situations. Happens the same for people who have had to endure pain for long periods of time or suffer through a lot or fight through a lot to make it. Those people endure the same things and they don't deserve that. They end up, well, I just want to be okay in life. I don't even have to have all this or have it. Why not? It's yours. It's yours for the taking, and you're just as important as the next person. And so understanding your value changes everything from how you make your decisions to what you pursue in life to what you want to become. Acknowledging the truth of who you are despite those lack of evidences that might come. Understanding that those things have a purpose. So that for me is emotional impoverishment. It's when you can't pull up the depth that you had before in terms of hope, joy, peace. You find yourself not even being able to relax. Like that tension never goes away. That tightness on your chest never alleviates. Those things we don't deserve to have. And we certainly do not deserve to have things that are temporal run our lives.
Right.
Things that are like, what is a car? What is a house? What is, you know what I'm saying? These things over me, which I'm one of a kind.
Yeah.
And so we are being told what to do by the world. And one of the things I say in the book in the intro is, it's okay to fight for your rights. Then we're told to be mad, not to be mad about it. Oh, so feel how you're gonna feel, but don't tread on me. Don't give me too much. Well, life is tough, but life's tough for all of us. Just suck it. Well, hold on. It's okay to say, hold on, that's not fair. This experience isn't fair. I'm not getting what I deserve to be paid at my job. I'm not being treated how I deserve to be treated by my partner. It's okay to stand up for what we feel, but we suppress it because sometimes we go to somebody, and have you ever had an issue with someone, you come to them, listen, this is how it feels, really hurt me, and they switch it back on you, or they don't want to acknowledge their wrong. So you get treated like that enough times, you become bitter over time. That thing festers. And so wanting to free yourself to be able to understand you don't owe anyone else anything. Here's what you owe yourself. Here's what you've been giving away that you deserve to treat yourself in the same manner. And here's how to be free, essentially.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm trying not to get excited.
I'm excited.
So, again, this ebook is 7 short chapters, a really quick read, great read. There are a few chapters that I do want to really kind of dig into.
Sure.
All right, so chapter 1, emotional allergies. In here, you have a short list of some things that can worsen your emotional allergies. The words you speak, the behaviors you accept, and the choices you make.
Yes.
Okay, so break it down for us.
All right, so I'll start with what the definition of emotional allergies is. So essentially, it's just from a common sense understanding. Nobody with seasonal allergies, regular seasonal allergies, goes skipping around in freshly cut grass. Like, you just wouldn't do it.
Right.
Nobody with seasonal allergies just sits there and sneezes all day and doesn't try to go get Flonase or Claritin or something else, right? And so the same way that you treat your allergies, you have to treat your emotions in the same way. And I'm going to break down what emotional allergies are. But just as another example with regular allergies, nobody looks at someone with allergies and goes, oh my God, I judge you and you're a horrible person because you have allergies. What you mean? I'm not out here killing nobody. I just got allergies. Everybody gets allergies,
exactly.
Right? Well, that's the same principle with your emotions. Let's say you went through a lot of neglect in childhood or something, right? That makes you extra sensitive to certain things. So someone can say something, it falls on my ear differently than it falls on yours. Now, in corporate America, we call this senders and receivers, and it teaches us to determine how to speak, and this is also a psychological principle, healthy communication. We learn how to speak, not according to what we want to say, but how the person's going to hear it, understanding those filters. That's true communication. So the idea is that in that same manner, we have to approach emotional allergies and say, number one, I don't judge myself. Everybody has emotional allergies. Number two, I understand that as a receiver, I have my own unique filters. There are certain things that I've gone through that certain things might not be funny to me. Someone who's LGBT might take a joke completely different than someone who's never been around a gay person. Same with black, white, up, down. And so there's so many divisions in our country right now, and they are very, very based on people just not having the same filters and not being able to come out of their own worlds enough to understand the world of someone else. And so the idea is understanding, listen, I have my own set of things. Something someone throws out there is going to hurt my feelings differently than it's going to hurt someone else's feelings. And that's an opportunity for learning, either in one way or the other. Either I'm dealing with some trauma from my past that's causing me to be sensitive, or the person who's speaking to me is dealing with ignorance on their part. And it's their job to be educated. It's not my job to internalize those things. And so understanding when someone's dealing with allergies, which controls what they say, the words you speak. Sometimes, like, I struggled with my weight for all my life. Good Lord, girl, I've been chunky all my life. And I'm so glad that curves are finally in. But I remember back in the day when natural hair was a Jerry curl and it wasn't cute and being thick wasn't in and all that. And what I did to cope was the words I spoke reinforced that. What I would do to disarm other people is I would make jokes on myself. Oh, move, girl. You know, these hips is a donut. You know, like, and in my head, I'm truly feeling insecure about it, but I want to disarm other people not to think about it. Now, I still make jokes, but I make it from a place of self-love. I do it. You see what I'm saying? That's just how I am. However, the words I spoke truly began to inform the world around me. I stopped asking for what I deserved. I stopped speaking up when something was unfair. I stopped loving on myself, speaking positive, affirmative words to myself. I let negative, doubtful things just run in my head all day. And so the words I spoke began to manifest negative things in my life, and I wasn't aligned. And so I can't create manifest. Everyone talking about 2019 and, oh, this great thing's going to happen, this great. Yes, it is. Yes, it is when you learn how to manifest and go for it and get what you deserve. Don't sit around this year and watch every good thing happen for everybody else and not acknowledge that you deserve it too. So the words you speak, the actions that you do or accept, you know, those speak louder than words.
Yeah.
So those things will let you know when you're shouldering yourself, you're avoiding people, you don't want to take up space in the room, your posture, all of those things we would teach executives that they already kind of knew and informed how they govern their worlds around them. But for the average layman, just the confidence with which people walk into a situation can determine how it goes. And so that depth of self-love can really reveal something. The decisions you make, are you making decisions for you or against you? And that's everything this year. In the things that you eat, in the things that you do, and the people you associate with. Are you choosing yourself or are you choosing someone else yet again?
Yeah.
You know, are the people around you useful to you? Are they pouring into you? Do they believe in you? Are they showing up for you? Those kind of things. Those things we have to take into consideration. And when we accept it and go, oh, well, you know, it's okay. Well, it's okay and be understanding, but also understand your value and your worth. You don't deserve to be looked over. And a lot of people who struggle with anxiety, as I did for years, they're quick to, well, I'll just let that go for the sake of being peaceful. You know, no one wants to start any drama, and we certainly don't want to be labeled, especially for minority women, as angry black women, so we don't want to, and there's ways to communicate how we're feeling without having to do that. And so those three things are ways to say, oh, that's just an allergy. And it's taking it from being some extreme thing that you cannot deal with as a way to understand, nurture, and accept yourself. Like, look, that's just an allergy because of some stuff that I'm don't, don't do it, because then I have to, I'm joking. Just those certain things that might make you feel away. It's okay to feel away, but know it, call it out, and own it, and don't let that own you and how you govern the world around you.
Yeah. Oh, that's heavy. Heavy. All right, so the next chapter I want to dig into a little bit is chapter 4, ego and emotion.
Yes, my favorite chapter.
In this chapter, you state the ego is all about you. The problem is the ego has no allegiance to your betterment, only to your self-attention. Mm-hmm. Speak on it, girl.
Okay, all right. So you actually read the poem that I referenced at the beginning of the chapter called If by Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling is talking to his son in this poem, and he's trying to pour all the wisdom that he has in the world into him. And in a few short stanzas, he writes one of the most powerful poems ever. And one of the stanzas, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. And that stanza, I read it when I was like 14, 15 years old, and I always thought it was interesting that triumph would be an imposter. And then I realized he was trying to teach about the ego. Mm-hmm. And that's how I came into it. And so what happens is when someone has been hurt or damaged, or they struggle with something from their past, something that happened to them that they did not deserve, things that they were victims of where they didn't have a chance to stand up for themselves, the ego responds to that pain and tries to soothe it. Mm-hmm. And a person who is not self-aware of how to heal properly will listen to that ego, and it will turn into a few things. So either if you are someone who struggles with self-esteem and you let the ego come in, what will happen is it will go to the extreme. So now you're overinflated. Your makeup got to be done every single day. You don't know how to look at yourself and find yourself beautiful. Now, I love makeup, but you're avoiding yourself. You feel yourself avoiding yourself. You're afraid to even take a picture of yourself without makeup. Those little psychological things that we do. If someone doesn't like us, we feel personal. We're easily offended. Well, why don't she like me? Well, I don't like her because she don't like me. Like those things. We don't like, we're uncomfortable with success around us. Someone else hits a level of success. We don't like it. Ego is turning that self-confidence sour into a self-inflation, right? But for people who are prone to go the opposite side, ego does the same thing. Ego turns it to you and goes, see, I told you, and causes you not to be bold enough to dream for your vision, but instead to let that one little failure or that two little failure, that one little thing that went wrong,
deter you.
Just shut you all the way down. You just don't even want to try anymore now, because it's never just one failure. What it feels like is that one little failure is contributing to a long-standing narrative in your head of I'm not enough. And that right there, that long-standing narrative, every little thing that happens, see, I knew it. And you're having to, it's so exhausting. You get to the point where you're emotionally exhausted. You just can't even deal with how you feel anymore, because I have to desensitize myself because I'm just going to detach just in case it fails. What if it doesn't? You see what I'm saying? Like what, or if it does, what have you learned from it? What have you developed from it? How have you been strengthened? So the idea of the ego is it wants you to focus on you. It doesn't want you to focus on your mission, your passion, your destiny, and your goal. So ego will either go but to use success or failure, much like Rudyard Kipling. Ego will use success or failure to trick you into getting self-consumed. This is how people plateau. I've been doing good, and then I rest on my laurels. That's that ego getting you to, but truly successful people understand that they're always rookies in the room. They want to be the rookies in the room. They want to be learning all the time. They're constantly focused on revelatory experiences. And this is what happens when you abandon ego. A lot of people are afraid to do it because it's a soothing response to I'm not worthy. The ego goes, yes, you are. It's all about you. You see what I'm saying? And that feels good. And we have long relationships with our egos, and we don't even realize when we're doing it. I told a friend the other day, she was telling me I should do more speaking engagements. And I was like, I don't feel worthy. And she was like, that's an excuse. Ego makes excuses. What does my worthiness has to do with what someone needs? What does my worth have to do with what I know in my heart I'm good at to help someone else? How about I do what I know I'm supposed to do, focus on the rest as it comes, do my best as it comes, but it shouldn't be an excuse not to even try. So what happens is ego wants to stop you from revelation. Revelation is when you are your best self. Like if you're a drummer, it's the best set you ever played when you're just in that zone and you're just creating. When you're creating this awesome radio show and you're just kicking it, like, you know, traveling, being successful. Revelation is that moment where you're constantly growing, you're constantly pursuing. But what happens is ego has to be left behind when you go to the next level. Ego doesn't want to be left behind, so it makes you afraid of the next level. Yeah. Oh, I can never get there, or I can never do this, or I can, everything's starting with I. What did I have to do with this? This is what you were told to do. This is what's predestined for you.
This is what you were designed to do.
This is what you were designed. You were made for this. Are you kidding? So what you were made for, it's like a pot going, oh, I don't know if I can be on the stove. You know, like, you know, get on the stove. Right. That's why it's weird that a pot would be talking, but you get what I'm saying. Right. You know, like, it's what you were made for. And so when you understand who you are in the terms of your identity, if you were having a good day, what would your name be?
Erica.
Erica. If you were having a bad day, what's your name?
Erica.
Your name doesn't change because you have a bad day. Yeah. So why does your talents? Why is it we have a bad day and we feel like our talents are now gone? Our capabilities are now gone. Our passions are now gone. Ooh. Everything that we were built for is now gone. Did your name magically change? Well, these things, these inherent qualities that were built and born inside of you also never change. They're someplace that does not move. And so we can't keep disrespecting the power that is within us because we feel it's subject to circumstance. It's not. So free it, own that again, and move forward. And that's the trick of the ego, you know, abandoning it and saying, hold on, let me humble myself. I don't have everything together, but I know I can do this. And here's how I reach out for help. You know, something the ego does not want you to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it together.
What you mean? What did you take from it when you read Ego and Emotion, based on what I'm saying?
Everything that you're saying, right now you're speaking to a place that needs to be healed, that needs to grow, that has healed, that has grown.
Yes, yes.
And it's like, I'm trying not to get like overly excited because I need to get through this. But it's like, it's letting me know like what I need to acknowledge, what needs to be healed, because you don't know what to heal if you can't recognize that this piece of you, this part of you, what you've gone through in your life. Your insecure self needs to be healed. Your self that deals with anxiety needs to be healed. And just knowing like, okay, this has nothing to do with you.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Has nothing to do with you. Situations and circumstances happen, but you were divinely made to be who you are.
Exactly.
You can't fail in that. And sometimes it feels like you fail in who you were destined to be. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's like me failing being Erica. No, I was made to be me.
Exactly.
And just getting that, like, that's, like you said, it's impossible. It's impossible for me to fail to be me. So just knowing that, like, situations and circumstances are just that.
Exactly.
Situations and circumstances, and not claiming ownership to those attributes of insecurity, to anxiety, because when I was created, I wasn't created with those things.
Right.
So just learning that, acknowledging that, and taking that and becoming better, becoming a better me.
Yeah.
So I can do what I was divinely made to do. So.
All right, so you said something that was really important that, if it's okay, may I touch on it?
Yeah.
You said something about insecurity, and I wrote a whole couple paragraphs about that because I dealt with that a lot growing up. And I talk about something called primary and secondary emotion. You remember that? And I was talking about lost diamonds. Insecure people are just being lost diamonds. Insecurity is a secondary emotion, which means it's a feeling that you project, that you're comfortable showing out, but it doesn't truly explain the feeling that you have inside, right? So if you break down the definition of insecurity, it's uncertainty of one's own value. I'm negative, secure. So I have a non-secure value or an uncertainty of my own value. If we get down to the root emotion, it's uncertainty. Why don't you know you're valuable? That's the real question that we have to ask, as opposed to whatever it is that we're showing out. So why don't you know you're valuable? Well, the environment you're in probably didn't say that. the circumstances that you've gone through, the things that you've accepted, the things you've taken off of people probably didn't say that. The people who have hurt you or the disappointments you've had that you haven't been able to get over probably don't say that. That's all okay. But let's look at it like a diamond. If you found a diamond in the dirt and I told you it was worth $5 million, what would you do?
I'm getting it.
Yeah. It don't matter if it was in the dirt.
Right.
A diamond is a diamond.
Yeah.
And it's a girl's best friend, okay?
Right.
So diamond is a diamond. It doesn't matter if it's in the dirt. It doesn't matter whatever. The first thing you do is you clean it off. You get it appraised. You sharpen it up. You'd set it in the right stone. But never would you say because people are walking past it or because people don't acknowledge it and you just happen to that it's somehow not a diamond. Diamonds don't need acknowledgement. For if I find a diamond in the dirt, I found a diamond in the dirt. Oh, that's not no diamond. All right. Am I going to throw it back? Forget you. I'm taking it to well, you just don't get no diamond then. I guess it's just all me then. You know, and so it's why don't you know your value? Well, maybe you were a diamond in the dirt. Your location, the things around you, the way you love on yourself, all indications of your value. So doesn't change the value of what a diamond is. It's just about revealing that diamond so that you can treat that diamond accordingly. Mm-hmm. That's a simple breakdown of insecurity. There's so many, jealousy's the same way. Mm. Someone's not jealous unless I first do a comparison between myself or an other person, place, or thing, situation, car, whatever have it, and I find myself inadequate. They're up here and I find myself somewhere beneath that. Inadequacy, that's the primary emotion. Well, talk to that. Don't talk to the jealousy. You see what I'm saying? So we have to learn how to take our emotions and go a level deeper so that we're not having to deal with them for the rest of our lives. We're not having to chop off branches to a tree. Just go to the root and get rid of the whole tree. There are a lot of things that if we were willing to address at the root, they wouldn't create all of the chaos and misalignment in our lives that we deal with. And we certainly don't deserve to take that into this new year.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great year.
Absolutely.
We don't deserve to take it into it.
Absolutely. Okay. Before I just have a crying spat.
Don't do it, because you know the chair will slip if I hug you, and you know I'm a...
All right, so the last chapter I want to get into is chapter 5, emotion versus instinct. Mm-hmm. When not to trust your gut.
Yes.
So let's talk about it.
Okay, so emotion versus instinct, I break down the 3 branches of the government and what they do, and then I liken them to your will, your emotion, and your instinct. And I talk about how each one should be governed, because what happens when we have emotional allergies or when we have a messed up perspective or we don't believe in ourselves at the level that we need to create accomplishment in our lives is we begin to misalign the core of how we process things, those filters I was telling you about. So this is a way to slowly check and realign your filters from a scientific perspective, to work on yourself to say, okay, I felt this way, even though my gut told me this, I went and did this. Why am I misaligned? Why is it that someone has to show me who they are 8 times before I believe them? Mm-hmm. Why is it that my gut picked up something about a character, a person, whatever, or a situation, yet I still went with it? That's the first thing, to understand what's differentiating in your mind, so that you can line and listen to your internal spirit and that internal wisdom that God gave you. Then if you start to find yourself having a doubtful spirit, that's when you say, okay, the facts tell me that I'm qualified. The facts tell me that this is a diamond, right? The facts tell me these are all these good things about me. These are my accomplishments. This is what I know I can do. So why at my core do I feel failure? That's right there an opportunity for you to go deep down inside and say, what happened that I began to resent and not trust? What's that consistent disappointment and that fear of disappointment that I can talk about now and address? And how do I turn that around? By creating small wins. It's a very quick, easy way to say, so instead of I want to lose weight, that's a pizza, right? But I got to eat the slice first. I know that's a horrible analogy for losing weight, but if I want to eat the whole pizza, if I want to accomplish the whole goal, then start with the first slice. So instead of I want to lose weight, I'm going to get up and every time I'm going to get up and I'm going to set aside a time to go work out or to eat healthy, or this is my one goal. For me, I lost 80 pounds, so I ballooned and then I slimmed back down. And losing those 80 pounds in that journey, I started by saying, all right, first I'm just going to drink water. I'm not going to think about all this weight loss. I'm not going to stress myself out if what I can do it, how I'm going to look, all that, whatever. I'm just going to drink some water. That, once I accomplished that, then I built on that. But each accomplishment gave me the ability to want to do more.
Yeah.
And I started with the toughest things sometimes. I would knock out the toughest things and then work my way. But I figured myself out. I took time with myself. I gave myself time until I developed a different psychology. Now I feel fully confident that I can lose weight. I'm not working against myself. I make quick, easy decisions. It's nothing for me. I form the habits. But before, I was working against my own self because I was pushing but didn't really believe I could do it. And so I'm not really giving it my all because a part of me is holding back and protecting myself. You got to go to your gut and determine what is causing that. I'll give you one final example of what happens with a spirit internally that is misaligned and creates negative dialogue. One of the examples I talk about, a big one, is depression in the book. And people who feel it as an actual clinical assignment, they deal with it. It's a mental phenomenon. They deal with it over time. And then people who just have seasonal, and then people who might not even diagnose it, but they just feel down because of circumstances. Everybody gets down sometimes. Those people who feel like that. I talk about creating and establishing a home base in your mind that protects your spirit and your gut and your belief in yourself. Have you ever read the memes on Facebook where there's like a sentence and all the words in the middle are jumbled up, but the first letter and the last letter of the words are the same, and you can read it because the first and the last are the same? It's your brain's neurons and synapses create shortcuts. That's essentially what it is. Your brain knows the shortcut, so it just can guess the word. Your brain does the same with your feelings. So if you do something enough times, you will shortcut to that thing, right? And you do it as a point of brilliance. People actually, no, like that's a brilliant mechanism. It's an evolutionary tool to be able to shortcut and quickly get to an answer. And so I remember back when I was working in the outward-facing portion of the insurance industry, we would all file into the door at 8:30 in the morning, and someone eventually would just push the handicap door because all of us are going to be opening the door. So someone would just push the handicap door and the door would stay open. That's also kind of like what we do in our emotions. We push the handicap door as opposed to returning to that same painful experience. To keep ourselves from having to deal with the repetition, we just create a shortcut in our heads. And this is how we lower our expectations. Well, I've never been able to get that, so I might as well just not even worry about it. Well, why didn't we do that with school? Why did we ever, when we went to school, go, I might as well leave a bed here because I'm coming tomorrow. I might as well stay here. Like, we never created a pattern of wanting to stay in a place, even if we went to it often, because we knew that home was not school, school was for lessons, and school had an end time. That's the same thing as a trial. So why does trials then, we become in love with it. We don't even want to be successful. Talk about the mourning experience of success. We're afraid of success. Oh, I'm faking it. Oh, they're not going to really believe, nobody's going to really believe that I'm this, okay, well, I'm not. What is all that coming from? What's the value of all of that? What's the truth in all of that? Not at all. Just because you have circumstances and all that, that's a trailblazer, someone who has a dream and other people can't relate to it. They have to have a forgiveness complex too. They got to forgive quickly because a lot of people just aren't going to believe in something they've never seen before. They don't know it can be done because they stop believing for themselves. Don't internalize that and then all of a sudden say, oh, well, I just can't do it either. So understanding how to fortify and strengthen your mind in the face of pursuing your dreams is the key thing that people need to understand if they're going to move forward and then have abundant life, not just have life. Learn how to live a little more and then enjoy the fruit of understanding and communicating out your value.
Well, I have to say, we've talked about this off camera, but this book for me was on time. I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions. I just feel like if you know there's a change that need to be made, make change.
Exactly.
But if I could think of what I would want my New Year's resolution to be is to be happy.
Yes.
To be consistently happy. I've had moments of happiness, but to figure out, okay, what does happiness look like to me? And how can I consistently have that thing? And I know that something that plays a part of that is the freedom factor. Is being emotionally free so I can identify easily what that looks like for me so I can keep having those moments of happiness and not just settling like, okay, I'm happy today, the end.
Right.
No, I'm happy. Period.
Right.
And knowing how to define that, because when I sit and I think about like, when was the last time I was happy?
Wow.
Like,
So
I know
many
I was
of
happy
us ask that question,
you
right?
know,
Like, when did I sit in some joy? Like,
Right.
really just in a good mood. Yeah.
And like when you really have to sit and stop and think about it, there's a problem.
Right.
So for me, if I had a resolution, it would be to define what happiness looks like for me and to be an active participant in keeping that thing alive for me. And so your book was definitely on time for me. I also, shared it with one of my other friends. You know, she was just, you know, down about some things. I'm like, listen, this is what I'm reading right now that's, you know, helping me with my emotional freedom. You take a peek at it and see how it's helping you.
Yeah.
And, you know, she can identify herself in certain chapters. She started journaling. And, you know, now when she have those moments of self-doubt, she can stop her thoughts and say, okay, this is what's happening when this feeling comes. I acknowledge it, I analyze it, this is what I need to do to combat that feeling.
Exactly.
And can keep it moving. So it's, what you're writing is working. It's helping people. And it's a beautiful thing when you can humble yourself enough to serve other people. So thank you
Oh my gosh.
for being a servant and serving other people. So before we both get emotional, let our viewers know how they can get a copy of the ebook and when the physical copy is dropping.
Absolutely. So the ebook is available right now on Amazon.com. And if you go in and type in the Freedom Factor or my name, Evita Freeman, Evita Freeman, you can find it, check it out, read it, enjoy it. Please give a review on Amazon if you like it. And also find me on Instagram at Evita Freeman, on Facebook, Evita Freeman, the same. The website will be coming the next couple of months, and the book will come out in print in March, and the book will include 5 bonus chapters. So I'm really excited about those. You think this was good? Like, I wrote some juicy ones after, and I'm so excited and so proud of it, and I hope it really helps people. That would make my whole life, for it to know it's revolutionizing people, that they can truly see the God, the power, the royalty in them, and move forth in victory that belongs to them. So I can already tell you that it's already helping people. So you guys just need to get it so you can help yourself as well. So thank you so much for being with us on our first episode of the year of the A-List. We're picking up so many amazing tips to be emotionally free, so we can start the year off strong and we can finish strong. Absolutely.
Awesome.
This is just how I wanna live. Just how I wanna live.